Witchbrook is releasing sometime this year, but there are still so many mysteries about the game, with one of the biggest questions being, how exactly will our magical studies be experienced from a gameplay standpoint? Well, lucky for us, we have some insight into this topic coming directly from the game's producer. Hello friends, Sarah Sunstone here, and welcome back to Thinking Out Loud. Today, I'll be sharing my thoughts on a new interview with the producer of Witchbrook, revealing details about the game's approach to magical education. Please shine the lovely like button if you're excited for Witchbrook, and make sure to subscribe to my channel with your notifications on for gameplay, news, and more. Otherwise, without any further ado, let's get right into it. As a refresher, Witchbrook is an upcoming spellbinding life simulation game and social RPG set in the seaside city of Mossport, where players will find themselves attending Witchbrook College and putting their magical skills to practical use, which is one of the main themes of this interview. The producer shared that it's a balancing act to deliver a cozy life sim experience within the framework of something many of us find less than cozy, which is schoolwork. She stated the following: creating an academic year in game form has been one of the most challenging design problems on the project. The Witch College fantasy is one that should logically include a large focus on study and exams, both of which are things that don't necessarily lend themselves to relaxed life sim gameplay. We decided to take a practical approach to education and dial back any time pressures. This leads us to the question of, what exactly will our daily lives as Magic Academy students look like? The producer described the plan for the systems having a major focus on learning by doing, and knowledge gathering being a key mechanic. Lessons involve task-based interactions that largely take place outside of the classroom, with an emphasis on engaging with the neighboring community of Mossport to make each assignment helpful and educational. For example, you might see a request posted to a class assignment board where a Mossport resident is asking for something like a curative herbal tea, and the first step to helping will be to visit the person at home, which we have seen previously in a gameplay preview of the client consultation process. The producer provided a specific example for this about a neighborhood bus driver named Bob. He explains that he just can't keep his eyes open because the peaceful scenery of the Mossport Loop bus route is just too much. On further questioning, it seems as if Bob is suffering from exhaustion, so books on maladies and remedies ought to help. Our next step as players would be to hit up the library, where we could seek a book detailing a recipe for a magical tea that should cure his chronic sleepiness. After cross-referencing to discover the particular herb needed, we'll head out into the woods to begin the harvesting stage. It sounds like we can also gather information on subjects, items, activities, and spells, along with the herbs, by studying in the library, and once doing so, these details will become locked into our knowledge collection as one way to secure a solid end-of-year grade. I really like the idea of including functional gameplay mechanics into the design of the school's library. This is something we've speculated on based on trailer footage and the various symbols included among the collections of books, so this definitely adds some more insight into how exactly we'll experience this aspect of the game. Now back to the next steps of fulfilling the request. Once you've gathered the necessary herbs, you'll return to the college to make use of the alchemy labs and brew up the tea. As you take on this task, you'll work your way towards more knowledge unlocks, although it will take a few more practical attempts to fully lock in this recipe. So it almost sounds like we'll need to successfully perform a certain spell, herbal brew, or other magical feat a certain number of times before it will count towards our educational merits. And I really like this idea of showing what you know, rather than taking magical exams. The final step for this request is, of course, delivery, where you'll return to the residence, tea in hand, to find a very happy Bob. He's overjoyed with his tea delivery and tips you, and the school will award you with merits for your completion of an assignment. You also might hear from Bob in the future and find out how well you solved his problem. I really like the idea of having a request like this count towards our academic studies while still earning us some money, and the fact that we're accomplishing something outside of the walls of the school while helping out the community just makes the whole system seem so much more meaningful and immersive, especially with the suggestion that we could hear from the client again in the future. I imagine in some cases it could be about how well the brew is working and that they would love to hire you to make even more, perhaps even with some tweaks. Or in other cases, maybe it only offered a short-term solution, and now they're looking for alternatives. I think the idea of your civic witchcraft duties not necessarily ending at the delivery definitely makes things interesting. And it does sound like there aren't going to be time limits on these requests, or if so, they might not be overly strict, since the producer commented that they're looking to dial back any time pressures. But that's not all there is to Witchbrook academics, because you'll also be honing a host of other magical disciplines, each with their own means of consultation or diagnosis, research, activity, and practice, along your path to becoming a fully fledged spellcaster. Apparently, there's even a ranking system involved based on what the producer shared as follows. As players move from apprentice to journeyman and master, they'll be trusted with far more magical pursuits, with a plethora of spells to aid you. We're centering and expanding on the collection aspects seen in other life sims as representations of the player character's expanding insight and skill set. All of this comes together as a nice balance of classes, studying, practical learning, exams, and connecting with your classmates and community. So it does seem like the further you hone your skills, the more you learn, and the more you practically apply your magic, the more types of quests and spells you'll unlock, which seems like a really nice progression system, likely offering some exciting things to look forward to learning. While graduation from Witchbrook College is a key goal for players, the producer also touched on the game's social simulation elements, hinting at plenty of activities to engage in when taking a little downtime from our studies. They also shared their hopes that players will come away understanding the importance of a good work-life balance. Plus, beyond the other characters in the game, everything has been considered alongside the challenge that comes with 4-player multiplayer, sharing the following. Our goal from the very beginning was to ensure that Witchbrook is as complete and enjoyable whether you're playing with friends or enrolling solo. Every design decision has been considered through a multiplayer lens to ensure we don't compromise on the fun. I'm honestly really happy to hear this. We don't know much yet on how exactly the multiplayer systems will work, but I do feel like this is one of those games where it would be nice to not compromise in either situation. This seems like the perfect cozy game to curl up with by yourself and just completely get lost in the magical world. On the other hand, wouldn't it be lovely to enjoy with others in a gameplay experience that is still feature-rich and not stripped back, like we sometimes see in other games? The producer concluded the interview by stating how it's been both surreal and intensely motivating to see such a positive reaction to the game's first trailer, and that the team is particularly eager to see player creativity in their fashion, interior design, and the stories they play out in Mossport. Plus, they need players to settle a bet for them. Who is the most eligible singleton at Witchbrook? And honestly, I feel like we would need to see the full confirmed lineup of romanceable candidates to even begin to answer that. I absolutely loved getting this little peek into how exactly our academic studies will be experienced from a gameplay standpoint, and from this further look into the world of Witchbrook College, I personally feel like what the team has planned sounds very promising, and as always, I can't wait to learn even more. As a reminder, the game is set to release sometime this year on Steam, Nintendo Switch 2, and Xbox. I'm still hoping for a PlayStation 5 release as well, but we'll have to wait and see on that. I've really appreciated the communication from the team and the continued updates, and getting to hear directly from the producer was definitely a nice treat. Well, there you have it, friends. I hope you enjoyed taking this look into Witchbrook with me, and of course, please feel free to share your thoughts on what was revealed from the game's producer down in the comments. Anything and everything, you know I always love hearing from you. And with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. I love you all, and until next time, take care.